I guess if you could just maybe just answer in the chat, if you would, to kind of help me understand one thing. And so the poll is, in what year was the first electric car? In what year was the first electric car invented? I'm going to roll up the chat. Okay, we have a first guess in there. All right. 1905, we got 1890, 1930, a couple of 1910s. Any other guesses? No, 1960s, 70s, okay. So pretty wide range, 1890 to the 1970s. Any other last guesses before I go to the reveal? Early part, so 1920. Okay, a lot of guesses, a wide range of guesses. So this is interesting as well. I'm going to go ahead and do the big reveal. So in 1832, the very first electric carriage was developed. It's called the Fritsch Electric. It was amazing. It was easy to start and drive, but it didn't go far and it didn't go fast. And then came the Model T in 1910, which, while it was hard to start and change gears, it could travel at 40 miles an hour or more, with the addition of a cheap, cancer-causing flammable chemical. And it could continue for long distances. So the era of the combustible engine started. All right, so the transportation is a significant contributor to overall greenhouse gas emissions. It also contributes significantly to other heart and lung-related diseases. In 2019, the transportation sector accounted for 29% of US greenhouse gas emissions. And of that, over 75% was from cars and trucks. So yeah, going electric is a big deal for the environment. And yes, we know that the grid is not yet fully clean, but it's going in that direction. And electric cars are way more efficient than a comparable gasoline car. I purchased my first electric car in 2012 for this reason. I knew that the transition was required to provide a sustainable planet for future generations, and that by supporting this fledgling electric car company that was out to disrupt the industry, I did my small part, and I feel like I'm part of the transportation revolution. And my point here is that every single car purchase matters, and it makes a difference. So this slide's a new one, and I'd like feedback at the end for this one as well. So let me give this a whirl. High gas prices really stink. I have not purchased gas for my car in almost 10 years, and I generally don't know what the price of gas is, except when it's the news of the day. But I get no joy out of seeing people suffer because of the volatility of oil prices. The US is the largest oil producer in the world and produces more oil than we consume. So how is it that the oil prices here go up when there is a disruption to the global supply? First of all, not all oil is the same, and the refining methods vary, and US refineries are not aligned with the oil produced in the country. So we send some out and we bring some in, and then that is more out than in. And yes, we were importing oil from Russia before they invaded Ukraine. And regardless of how much oil we produce anyway, it's a global commodity, which means any disruption to the free flow of oil will disrupt the price. So you can see in this chart that OPEC cartel controls the large majority of oil reserves left in the ground. And combined with Russia, it's about 85% of the total world's reserves. So energy security is not actually possible if we are reliant on oil. Policymakers that tell you otherwise are just lying to you. Okay, now that we've established the urgency, let's talk about the types of EVs out there. Generally, there are two types of hybrids. There's the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, the PHEV, which have two drivetrains, one electric and one internal combustion. A Prius plug-in and the RAV4 Prime are examples of the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and they come with over a 40-mile range on electric only, which is not a bad option for someone who is not quite ready to go full electric vehicle. And the extended range electric vehicle, which has just one electric drivetrain, but also has an electric generator that runs on gasoline, like the Chevy Volt or the BMW i3, both of which are no longer produced. So these are transition cars to the electric, as they allow the use of gasoline infrastructure to help with long distance driving. Once the battery range increase and the charging infrastructure is sufficient, these won't be necessary or cost effective. The battery electric vehicle is the future of cars. Early models include the Nissan Leaf, the Tesla Model S, and the Chevy Bolt. The architecture is simplified as it only has one drivetrain and dramatically less parts than the comparable combustion car. A good analogy is the gasoline car is the landline phone, the plug-in hybrid is the flip phone, and the all-electric vehicle is the smartphone. And that's kind of how you like to think about it. So we are all going to the smartphones. So my uncle still has a flip phone. So EVs are better in just about every measurable category, and the cons listed here are being solved very quickly. And in most driving circumstances, they do not come into play. But I'll just talk about the cons a little bit. You can see the pros. They do accelerate very nicely, quiet. There's lower operating costs. And I will say, people ask me sometimes, how long does it take to charge your car? And my answer is, well, 0. I don't take any time. It charges while I'm asleep or while I'm asleep. Now, I plug it in at home and it charges at night. And so I don't have to make an extra stop. I don't have to do anything. So for my daily driving, for what I use my car 95% of the time, I don't spend any time charging it. So that's a plus. There are some perks out there. We'll go over that in a minute. And certainly the environmental benefits are huge. But the cons I listed here, and this deck is like 5 years old at least. And I just want to say, like, these cons were then there, and I want to talk about each one of them now. And they're not so much cons anymore. So higher initial costs, well, actually that's going away. And we're going to talk about that. I have some data to show that they're getting to be price comparable. And in fact, the 5-year life of an EV is actually cheaper today. But we'll talk about that. Longer fuel time on trips. This is true. If you have an EV and you take a long trip, you will spend longer refueling or plugging in your car at a fast charger than you would at a gas station. So that's true, unless you're on the New Jersey Turnpike and there's a line. And so I've been there too since years ago. Charging infrastructure is a lot better than it was. I will say it's pretty good, but it's not great yet, and it's particularly not great if you live in an apartment or in a city and you don't have parking at your home. It's challenging for sure. But if you park at home, like I said, most of the time you're charging there. So charging infrastructure is something that our elected leaders need to push, and I know they are. The model selection is limited. I think we could take that con away. That's no longer true. There's over 100 I think models out there today. Range limitations for intercity travel. I think this one's also going away. So the cons are quickly dropping off, and I should probably update this slide to be more interactive and have these actually fall off, but the cons are going away. So here's just a summary of what I've said. So like the why now, right? So national security and energy security and the environment. There are like 3 big reasons why we should do this now. And we can really, again, make a difference by doing that. It's smooth, it's quiet, equal weight distribution, and low center of gravity. And these are really kind of neat too. Like it has an equal distribution of the weight to all the wheels, at least most of them do. And that provides for more stability in the car. Yep, it's an iPad on wheels. Regenerative braking is, again, part of the efficiency as you stop. Regenerative braking is really interesting, and I'll talk about the brakes in a minute, but basically it puts energy as you stop. The stopping energy gets put back into the battery, and I changed the way I drive, and I slow down sooner because I let the car do it with regenerative braking. So it even improved my safety of how I drive, and safety is improved as well. Believe it or not, they are safer in an accident. Many of them don't have a 500-pound chunk of steel or iron in the front. It's just a crumple zone that's allowed to absorb energy if you get into a front end collision. So they actually can be designed for safety, more so than an ICE that has a big engine that will come into the cabin if it's not designed properly. So some common myths that may have been out there, maybe still are out there. One myth is that plug-in electric vehicles can only support short trips. not daily commutes. The fact is that the average commute is 40 miles or less. And most batteries now, go over 200 miles in the range. Some are well over 300 to 400. So that's a myth. Myth: the electric vehicles will make your energy bill go way up. Not true. If you include gasoline as energy, which it is, so you will have a higher electric bill because you're charging it there. But it only takes a few cents per mile to move an electric car on electricity versus about 14 cents a mile for a traditional Camry. And actually, when I did that 14 cents calculation, I think gas was only in the $2.50 range. So it's probably more like 18 or 20 cents per mile to move a traditional mid-size car compared to 2 to 4 cents per mile for an electric car. Myth: plug-in electric vehicles aren't clean because they run off dirty power plants. So even when the emissions from the power plants are taken into consideration, EVs contribute less. Well, first thing is they're way more efficient. And secondly, the grid is going greener, and you have other options too to green your supply. You could buy renewable energy and enforce that in hand, or you could put panels on your house and do it that way, like I do as well. And the last myth: electric vehicles are far more expensive than the average car. And yeah, this is not true. In fact, there's incentives out there, but also the prices come down. The price of battery is mostly what has come down from when I bought my car. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. So we're getting rid of all the reasons. So this is just a little bit of a comparison to help you see on the EPA's fuel efficiency stickers that you'll see on a car, like how to read them a little bit. So on the left is the I think it's the Leaf, and it shows the 116 miles per gallon E. So that's the equivalent of miles per gallon, right? And so if you want to compare like the efficiency of one car versus another, the Camry on the right shows it's 26 miles per gallon. And if you compare the energy that's used to move the Leaf, the same mileage, the energy that's using the same amount of energy, you'll go 116 miles on a Leaf. So that's when I say they're more efficient. That's what I mean right there. For the unit of energy supplied, the Leaf goes more than 4 times farther on the same amount of energy supplied. And gasoline vehicles are just extraordinarily inefficient. I think the efficiency range, and the efficiency is like converting the energy into movement of the vehicle. I think it's in the 25 to 30% range for a gasoline vehicle, and it's in the 85 to 90% range for an electric vehicle. And they both have friction, so friction is one of the inefficiencies. But the gas car, it creates a lot of heat energy. You know how the hood of your car gets hot. That heat energy just goes into the environment and doesn't provide any benefit to moving the car. It's just waste heat that goes into the environment. So if you put your hand on the hood of an electric car, it's going to be cold all the time. So anyway, that's the fuel economy pitch. And here's the maintenance. Again, comparing a Leaf and a Camry. Tried to be all inclusive. So they both have tires, and tires wear out. So yep, got to get tires. Oil change. If you go to your mechanic with your electric car and they want to change your oil, you should probably get a new mechanic. So they don't have oil to change. Transmission fluid, same, none there. Camry's got to do that. Coolant on the Leaf, you actually do have some coolant maintenance at 125,000 miles. In the Camry, it's every 30,000 miles. I will say the Leaf is probably unique, so it depends on the car. I know in my Tesla, there's no coolant to change ever for the battery, so that's cool. But some do, some don't. So anyway, a little bit of maintenance there. Spark plugs, nope, don't have them in the Leaf either. Camry has to maintain those, change them. Brakes, I said half as much. I have some data on this now. I was kind of guessing that. I knew it was pretty close, but I just got my first brake job on my Tesla at 112,000 miles. They had just gone to where it wouldn't pass inspection. I had to get new brake pads. So I think half as much is conservative. It's probably going to do better. I used to probably change brakes every 40. I don't know. I haven't driven a gas car in a while, but I think it was like 40,000 miles or so you get out of brakes. So yeah, and the reason is the regenerative braking, which I mentioned earlier. And at the end, we have some electric car drivers here as well. I'm going to, let them talk about their experience with, regenerative braking and brakes and things like that. Timing belt doesn't exist in an electric car, doesn't a Camry. And then window washer fluid, wiper blades, and cabin filters. Yep, you got to do those too. So, yeah. So anyway, that's a pretty good comparison. Fairly complete of maintenance items, and I guess light bulbs too. When they go out, you have to change them. So, okay. Here we go. So here's the charging infrastructure for PlugShare. PlugShare is an app. If you're going to be an electric car driver, you might want to get PlugShare, depending on how far you drive and what you do. But this is a screenshot of the PlugShare. This is a couple of years ago, actually. It's showing level 2 and level 3 chargers. So the level 3 are the fastest. That's the orange ones. The level 2 are the green ones. So this is the I-95 corridor. You can't even see I-95 because there's so many chargers available. So if you're traveling along a major, interstate in a populated area, chances are you're going to have plenty of options for charging. These are public chargers that are available. Some of them are free, some of them are not. Everyone's different, which is interesting. But in the PlugShare app, it'll tell you a little about it, if you will. But yeah, that's I guess the point is, if you're traveling, there's ways to find out what's available for charging, and I suggest that you check this out. Again, if you're going to be doing distance traveling. This is the Tesla driving. They have their own closed network for Tesla vehicles only, so it kind of comes with the car, that you have access to all of these chargers. And it's really, I do drive a Tesla, and it's if you do a lot of long distance driving, you might want to check this out. It does make it more convenient. And I think the reason is that it's faster, and it's kind of a transactionless experience. You just pull up and you plug in. I think the other ones, you have to create an account and have a fob or some way to log in or use your phone to do something. And it takes a little inconvenience, a little time, not a lot. But the Tesla one is a seamless experience, and you could virtually drive anywhere in the U.S. or populated areas of Canada and much of Mexico. And really not have to worry. You're typically not more than 50 miles from a charger at any time, and the car tells you which one to plug in at when you're traveling. If you put in your destination, it'll tell you where to stop and how long you have to stop and all that. So it's a pretty amazing network, and they keep building it out. I think the challenge with this one might be in certain populated areas like California, where there's too many Teslas and not enough chargers for this, because it's California and they can't build them fast enough. And so this is just showing, stats. And again, this is a little dated. It's like, how far do we drive? And it's just to make the point. Along the bottom is like the daily driving for a typical American. And along the top, the height is what percentage of the population drives that or less. And so you can see 85% of the population drives 60 miles or less per day. And most of the cars, full electrics, they're all over 200 now. So virtually, if it can do anybody's daily driving, if you're going home every day. Again, this is not long distance driving. This is not trips. This is your daily driving. Virtually any vehicle out there could handle it. And yeah. And then the other one is, we're going to start talking about charging technology. So it's called level 1, level 2, and level 3, or DC fast charge. But the level 1 is actually your outlet at home. Any one of your outlets is a level 1. So you have that already. If you have a home and electricity, you have a level 1. A level 2 is akin to an electric stove, or dryer, electric dryer. So it's your 240 volt. And so that's a level 2. And a level 2 will add, mine at home adds, actually, this is 10 to 20. Mine adds about, I would say 20 to 30 for my cars. I have 2 electric cars. So I get like 26 miles per hour added back in an hour for my Tesla Model S. The Model 3 gets like 29, because the Model 3 just uses less energy to move. So it gets more mileage per watt. So yeah, if you need, again, it depends on which vehicle you buy and how you want to drive, whether you want to get a level 1, your home outlet, or level 2. The level 1 adds about 2 to 5 miles per hour. But you know, if you're only driving, you know, if you get one of the hybrids, you probably just stick with the level 1 because you're only driving 40 miles on electric, and you can certainly replenish that overnight easily. Level 2 is really convenient though for at home. So in a couple hours, it can replenish your daily commute. But and then the DC fast charge, there's a variety of these. You know, they're typically in commercial locations along highways. You're typically going to pay for them. And I know a lot of the sheets have them. I've used them at the sheets when I used to go to State College for football games before the Tesla network was out there. And the Tesla network are all fast charged, but they're even faster than this. They can get up to like 300 or 400 or 500 miles per hour added back in the car. Yeah, the DC fast charger is really what we need out on there, and they're building that. That was the orange ones on that map. So where do people charge? Typically, it's at home. Again, so the network, the infrastructure is really convenient for electric cars for people that own a home and have a driveway or a garage. At work is a good place, but it depends on your employer. I guess when I used to drive to work, my employer had electric chargers for us. That was kind of convenient. Fleets, of course, public areas, and then you know the fast chargers. So this is kind of the hierarchy. And the reason I want to point this out is one of the things people say is that, well, there's more gas stations than electric car chargers. How are we going to recharge all these cars? And I guess the answer is, well, that you don't really need them. You charge at home. You have your own charging station at home. So that's where you're going to charge like all the time, unless you can't do that unless you live in an apartment, and then you have to figure something else out. So typically the electric charging infrastructure is typically for inner city travel, and you're going to plug in at work or at home, or mostly for that until we get that built out. Okay, so here's the answer. Yeah, most chargers, most folks are going to charge at home with a level 1 or 2 option. Level 2 charging equipment, to get that installed, it's going to cost between, again, this is an estimate to know what to expect, but probably $500 to $2,000. And the biggest variable is the distance from your circuit breaker or your box where your service comes in to where you want to put it, and copper wire to go from one to the other. The copper wire is it's like $1 a foot or something. It's not cheap. So if you have to run 300 feet, you're going to pay over $300 or $400 just in copper. So if you're close, that kind of goes to zero. So I did my own. I installed my own, and it cost me the cost of the wire only. So if you're handy too, you can do it. But so yeah, that's kind of the level 2. And you would never consider a DC fast charge at home. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, ever. So here's the cost to buy. This is an interesting chart. So this shows that in 2025, which is right around the corner, it's actually going to be cheaper to buy an electric car, comparable. I'm talking about comparable electrics versus gas. Not a luxury versus an economy, but either a luxury to luxury or a mid to mid or an economy to economy. The actual cost to buy will be cheaper by 2025, and it's largely because of the battery price coming down, and it may be before that. It's getting parity already, but. So that's the first bit of good news. But already today, it is cheaper to own an EV than an internal combustion engine when you consider the operational costs, including fuel and maintenance. So when you include the entire picture, the 5-year, I got that on the next sheet, but the 5-year total cost of ownership of an electric car is currently today cheaper than a comparable gas car. And here is a direct comparison between the Hyundai Kona electric versus the Hyundai Kona gas. So it's the same vehicle, same manufacturer. One's electric drivetrain, one's gas. And it shows here, this is based on a comparable $3.40 per gallon. So that's pretty close to today, I think. I'm not sure. I think it's around there, but this is based on 15,000 miles a year, so maybe more for some, maybe less. But the The monthly cost to fill up the gas one is $157 versus $50. So you're saving $100 a month right there. But let's talk about the total cost of ownership over 5 years. The electric is almost $5,000 cheaper to own over 5 years. Excuse me. And it's largely driven by the savings in the maintenance and gasoline, or gasoline versus electricity. But you can see in the middle, the top one, the Kona Electric has the yellow for the electricity and the darker blue for the maintenance versus the black for gas, and again the darker blue for its maintenance. So those are the primary savings, and yeah, it's already there today. So if affordability is your reason, you'd actually want to go to an EV anyway. Let's go here. So there's a lot of EVs available. You can see it's kind of exploded in the last couple of years, but here in 2022, we already have 100 EV models that are out on the market today, and that's continuing to go up over the next couple of years. Some manufacturers have actually stated we're going fully electric. They won't make gas vehicles anymore after 2030 or 2035. So the entire industry is going this way. I mean, it's clear that price point that I talked about earlier. Like once the price point to buy the electric car off the lot is cheaper, it's going to be hard to sell a gasoline car. It's going to be hard, especially after what's happening now. So yeah, now's the time. So this is I'm going to show you these next two slides, and then I'm going to dive into the actual website that you can do this, because I used to go and talk about different cars, but there's too many. And so I'm going to give you a tool to do it on your own instead. So if you go to fueleconomy.gov, there's a side-by-side comparison that you can do to pull down and look at up to 4 cars at one time and compare them car to car. So here I got the Tesla Model 3 on the left. You can see it's got 130. Remember this here, this 131 miles per gallon equivalent. Then I have a fairly comparable Volkswagen Golf. And it's 26 miles per gallon. And then I've got the Chevy Bolt, 120, and then the RAV4 Prime. This is the hybrid one we talked about. This is a great option for folks that you're not quite ready to go full electric yet, but on the combined is the MPGe. They get 94 with both when you combine both the electric and the gas. When it's fully on gas, it's 38 miles per gallon. So pretty decent vehicle, either way. But it also tells you down here what you save over kind of the average vehicle in its class. So for the gasoline vehicle, you spend an extra $2,500 over 5 years. For the Model S, you're saving over $9,000. Same with the Bolt, and $7,000 for the RAV4. So you will make up, and that's the savings over 5 years. So it's a really neat tool. It tells you the cost to drive 25 miles, cost, annual. So it's a neat tool. It'll really help you kind of look at analytically the different vehicles. You still have to drive them and understand how to use them and everything else. But this is a great tool for understanding that component of it. And then this other tool, I talked about rebates. Again, the rebates are all over the place because they set them out and they have caps by manufacturer on how many cars they can sell and what the rebate is, and then they phase them out. So this tool will allow you to look at all of them, where you could select it by manufacturer or by fully electric versus not. I'm going to go over the tool in a minute, but a great tool to help you find out like where are they at. And this is kept current. This is as of like, a couple of weeks ago or something, the data. So it's kept current by the government. And yep, let me go ahead and just stop sharing this, and I'm going to just pull up that tool here to show you those real quick. So I'm going to do a screen share again. Okay, can you see my website? I think you can. All right, so so yeah, here's the side-by-side comparison. You can select your vehicle. Let's look at a 2022. I did a Tesla, and I'm going to do a Model 3, and I'm going to compare it to 2022. We're going to pick a Toyota something. And let's do the Camry all-wheel drive. There we go. All right, so you get the point. And so I'm going to just do a compare on those two. But you can pick any four you want, and you can compare them and see all the data there really quickly, really easy to use. The and let me just I'm going to go ahead and grab this and put it right in the chat, so you have that link. And one more here is the federal tax rebate. You can see here again, it's you can filter by all electric or plug-in. It's got every car here. You can do it by manufacturer. I'm going to show you that just how up to date it is. Here's the Tesla view. You can see these wound down all of their rebates. They tell you when they wound down, the 50 and the 20. So there's currently there's no, after 2019, they were not eligible for tax credits. So you can kind of see that really clearly. If I pull up, who's got an electric out there? So Chevy, let's pull out the Chevys. Oh, the Chevy sold all theirs too. How about that? Yep, good for Chevy. So Chevy's out of rebates. BMW must have. So BMW's got a bunch of rebates left. So there you go. But it tells you for each model, because it depends on the battery size, it depends on the manufacturer, depends on is it fully EV versus not, and you can tell how much rebates out there for that. So that's pretty cool as well. So I think I probably missed a bunch of questions in the chat. I'll go try to hit those, and then where did my chat go? Oh, here it is. Great. What percentage of cars on the road today are EVs? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know that answer. About 2%. Oh, thanks, Dan. Okay. Do I anticipate more rebates being passed? I don't know that answer either. It's hard to tell what Congress will do. I hope so. That would be great. Yeah. What other questions do we have? And I'd like to get feedback on my oil slide too. Was it effective? Was it too much? Yeah. Any questions? You can just unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
No, I just want to add that I have a friend in Brussels that I talk to every other week, and that 2% is in the U.S. There's more EVs in Europe than there is percentage-wise in the U.S.
Thanks, Dan. And there's a question there about what's the rationale for their limiting rebates to a fixed number for manufacturers. I think the idea is to I believe, I didn't write the legislation or lobby for it, but I believe the idea is that they want to give the manufacturers a leg up to invest. They want to give them the confidence to invest, because they have to do a large R&D and redoing their production lines to do this. So they want to give the manufacturers the confidence to do that. And once they've converted over, they probably don't need the help anymore, right? Because they've already converted and they've sold so many that they've proven it out. So I think that's the idea. Nancy Winkler, you have a question?
Yeah, hi, thank you. Great presentation. I unfortunately missed part of it. I lost you while I was driving home, but we drive an electric car, and we for the first couple years charged it on our trickle charge, just the regular outlet, and frankly really never needed to go to a level 2, but we decided to install one anyway. And I would say our costs were on the very bottom end, maybe even below the 500, just because of our positioning. I was just telling this to someone, and that we put a level 2 charger, and they mentioned something that I hadn't heard, and maybe you have, that they were talking about there being a need for a level 2 charger to be weather protected and for safety reasons. I don't know if you or another person is, ours is not in a garage. Ours is under an eave of our house.
Yeah, mine's the same.
And this person and I don't know if this is an urban legend or if it's a true thing.
No, it's not true.
Okay.
No, it's not true. Mine's outside. I see them in my neighborhood outside. I live in Haverford Town, and like almost every garage in Haverford Town, you can't put a car in. So they're pretty much parked outside with their charger. And
right, I've seen them, around. And then I guess as a related point to make to people, even the people who charge at home on a trickle charge, the the car gets recharged fully each night.
Yeah, sure does.
So the need for even a level 2 is assuming that you're draining your battery one day and you've got to get it charged back up again.
That's correct.
Because you're going to drain it again.
That's
because
correct.
You're going to use it a lot. So it's the sense that you need to have your own dedicated charger is something that I think I guess I think of it now maybe as a luxury, because most people wouldn't even need to charge their car every day.
Yeah, I agree, Nancy. I think it's a convenience. I don't know, because it's a convenience. There's no doubt that's how I look at it too. But I'm
just talking about people who live in apartment buildings, and you try to figure out how many shots that you need.
Sure.
I think there's ways to work that out. I'm curious if you've investigated any of that.
I agree with you, first of all, and I'll give you another story about that. I used to work down in Wilmington, Delaware, and drove there every day, and I plugged in at the charger, but there was only 2 electric chargers there when I was there, and there was more drivers that wanted to plug in. So we had a time limit of 4 hours, and then you had to move your car. It would fill up, it would replace your commute in less than that. But you had to then go, move your car. And it was an inconvenience at work because, we worked all day and we didn't always have time to break free and go move our car in a parking garage. And so I was trying to lobby the company to not put in level 2 chargers, to put level 1s in, the trickle charge, as you call it, because then you could just plug in all day. It would still charge it in the day, and then you wouldn't have to move it. And they're way less expensive to install. It's just an outlet. So it was interesting that you had that, experience too. But in some instances, like for apartment buildings, you probably don't need many level 2 chargers. You might want to put a couple in, but then you just put a bunch of outlets in, and that's all they need. That's all they need. And when they come home, they're parked at home for 12 hours typically. That's all you need to replace your daily commute is that. And then they don't have to move the car. I know my daughter, she lived in an apartment or a condo complex, and she wanted to plug in her Prius, and she just had to negotiate with the person that was parked next to the outlet to take that spot. And because that's all she needed, was an outlet. So yeah, thanks for that, Nancy, that perspective. Ann, you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I hear, I don't have the background understanding of electrical things, so I can't answer this question for myself, and I seem to be hearing conflicting things other places and here. So if my ordinary outlet that I have my laptop plugged into right now would be a level 1, you're saying?
Yes, that's correct.
But the larger sort of 3-pronged weird looking plug that my washer dryer is plugged into would be level 2.
Correct.
What you're saying?
That's a good comparison. Yeah. Now the plug for the level 2 car is going to be an appliance, if you will. That
right.
So it's not going to maybe look like that plug, but it'll be the same wires that go to that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I already have the capacity for level 2 right here in my apartment.
Of course you do. Yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't know that, and I had heard the opposite.
It's like adding a washer and dryer, or I guess an electric dryer. It's the same draw.
That's really good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll just say one other thing, that we just run, when we go some places where we need to recharge, we just run an extension cord out to the street from the
I've done that.
house.
I've done that.
A house
Yeah,
we're visiting. I mean,
Sure.
it's not.
yeah. I've done that
And-
dozens of times. Mhm.
And that would make sense, especially for people who are on the first floor. But it's a lot harder if you're not.
That's correct.
And I also know of a couple of other people who live where I live who would like to buy electric cars, but don't want to have to deal with charging elsewhere. And they've already said, I can't just be running a cord out my window in all weather. And so they're not content with that. I mean, our challenge is going to be to figure out how to keep the same sort of thoughtless kind of people that put plastic bags in the recycling dumpster, because they're not paying any attention, from actually parking in whatever spaces those chargers get put. That'll be our biggest challenge, I think, where I am.
Dan, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that people will buy gas anywhere but won't charge their car anywhere.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
That's fascinating, Anne. And I get that it's a different time. I can fill up my gasoline car in about 10 minutes, but to go from 20%, 10 to 80% with my current, it's not a Tesla, so it doesn't charge as fast, but with a Type 3 charger, that happens in about 30 minutes. And, I can go shopping in that time period or do something else or sit there and listen to my Audible book. Nancy and I walked. We just drove back from Toronto, and it was quite an adventure getting there because it was a new way for us. But somebody recommended download the app, A Better Route Planner, ABRP, and it tells you from source to destination. It plans where you should charge and how long it's going to take you and what's available, and you filter it for your car and connector and all that stuff. So coming back, we knew exactly where we were going to charge up for 30 minutes or 7 minutes to get to the next one, whatever it was. It was fascinating. It is more complicated, but because gas stations are currently on, many corners and on many of the throughways.
Sure. I got a question about what is the wait time to buy an EV now? And the answer certainly depends on which one you choose to buy. So I know in many of the traditional car companies, it would be the dealership has them or they don't. For some of them, you buy them and configure them online, and you would get a delivery time from that manufacturer. I think the Teslas are somewhere in the 3 to 4 month range. Again, could be a year depending on the model you pick and the configuration, but it varies by make and model. Anne, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have another one, and I know your thing isn't all the various charging station questions, but do you see them, like a level 1 or a level 2 charger being considerably different 5 years from now than it is now? Are they also getting much better somehow?
Yeah, they're getting better for sure. And one of the kind of neat technologies that's out there is wireless charging, so that you could just park and just like they have wireless charging for phones right now, there is wireless charging that's being developed for cars as well. And that could be a game changer, where vehicles can just park and be charging. So yeah, and they are getting faster, and the technology is changing. Like I know, again, I know more about Teslas than the rest in terms of charging, but the newer model Teslas, like I have the original one, and the newer one is charged probably like I would get. I thought really fast times on mine, and then the new models get like twice as fast as that. And I've seen in my wife's Model 3 like 500 miles an hour on the fast chargers, which is just crazy. You can barely go in and get a cup of coffee and go to the bathroom and come back, and you got to move your car from the rest stop because it's already full. Yeah. So So yeah, it's definitely getting faster. That's what I'm saying. The infrastructure is good, not great right now. And I got a long way to go, particularly for folks that live in apartments or don't have off-street parking where they can plug into their home. It's not convenient, and it's definitely, an area of improvement for us as a society. But we need to be talking to our legislatures about that to incentivize it. And I think the infrastructure bill that just passed has got a pretty nice chunk of change in it for that infrastructure as well. So, Dan, you have another comment or question? Your hand's up.
Yeah. So with respect to buying, Nancy and I only have had our Kia Niro for like 10 days. About that. And when we were on the lot at Murray Kia, they had ours and a premium one, just two on the lot. But we could tell when we were doing the internet search what was available around us. So, like right now, given the shortage of vehicles, we ended up paying MSRP, and I've never paid MSRP for a new vehicle. But everybody else was charging $2,000 to $4,000 above MSRP. So we knew we got the best deal we could get, and it was the right time for us. So we did it. But I could see 1, 2, 3 vehicles at the different Kias around us. It's funny, we stopped at a BMW dealership in southern New York State, outside of Binghamton, and they were just starting, because of their culture, to get electric BMWs. And BMW has already gone through a generation of electric vehicles and are moved on to their next models. So it's fascinating what's available out there and what we're paying for them.
Yeah. And I'll just say the cars are in general, gas and electric. There's a higher demand than there is supply. And I've heard lots of stories of paying over MSRP for a vehicle right now. Yeah. And Nancy, you have a comment?
Yeah. Today I got an email from Electrify America, which is a charging company, and we downloaded the app, and they showed, this is in California, but they showed literally, it looked just like a gas station in California. They have them, right down the coast. It was, it's a ways away, but as more and more people buy electric cars, it is going to be similar to that. If, especially if you are driving a distance and don't have a level 3 at your home and need to go, a long distance. So it was a little bit mind-boggling after having done our trip and, what we saw. And we saw some very nice, and a lot of them were Electrify America chargers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're a big company or not. I now have like 5 apps on my phone because of our trip, but it was a great learning experience. Took us a little longer, but great learning experience, and there's going to be more to come. That's it.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Nancy in a minute. There's a comment in there that's been out there for a while. Barbara asked, will additional power generation be needed if we don't use gasoline anymore in the U.S.? What will be the source of the power? Will it be able to replace the infrastructure that's there to generate electricity? And when will that be complete? So the final answer, when will that be complete? I guess I don't know. But I will say a couple things about that. One is, electric vehicles are way more efficient. 2, I charge mine at night, and only at night while I sleep. I tell the car, charge at night, because the energy is cheaper, and it's cheaper because the demand is lower and there's excess capacity. And so part of it is we could charge our cars off peak if we can. That reduces the amount of energy needed. So it's kind of almost excess energy that's going into my vehicle. 2, we can, expand the grid with solar, and that's happening. Wind, that's happening. So we absolutely have to keep building out that infrastructure. We have to electrify everything, not just our cars, but everything in our home too has to be electrified if we're going to solve this problem. So yes, we need to build much more renewable energy, and we need to do it as quickly as possible. And I don't know when that'll be done. I wish I did. So Nancy, your question.
Thank you. I have a comment and a question. With regard to the other person's question and the concern about the grid being able to support what, if everybody is switching from fossil fuels, switching from heating their homes with natural gas and oil and all that. Yes, there's definitely going to be an enormous need for substantially more electricity. And one of the big conceptual issues that's out there is, how important are microgrids and other kinds of locally generated electricity and local battery storage, as opposed to the need to imagine just taking the current infrastructure system we have for electric system nationally and just supersizing it. And so I think there's a big conversation and debate, policy debate, around what that future electrical system looks like. And I don't think that's settled yet. But I believe that we will see substantially more electricity generated locally and distributed locally. There's a lot of interesting models about that. That's not what this meeting is about, but just so that you're aware, and you can read about it. I'm sure you can research it. And then the question that I had for you is just a real simple one. Do you know if Haverford Township has amended any of its ordinances to either require new development or new construction to provide electric charging?
Yeah, that's a good idea. No, I don't think we haven't. No, it's a good idea though. I'll bring it back. I'm on the EAC as well, but yeah.
The Lower Merion Township has an amendment. I mean, it has a new subdivision and land development code that is about to come before the Board of Commissioners for adoption. And it does have a requirement only for commercial, new commercial development, but it does have not very much, but a little bit of additional charging.
No, that's a really good suggestion. Thank you for that. The thing with Haverford is we probably only build, 2 houses a year on 10. There's not many places left to build anything. So there's not a lot of new construction. Yeah.
I know though that you guys have done some really innovative and environment. I mean, you strike me as a group that's been thinking and working on this for quite a while, and it shows.
It's awesome. Yeah, Haverford's definitely doing some good things. Joel, do you have a comment or a question? Oh, you're on mute, Joel. You have to unmute.
I think I know the answer to this, but my electrical box is on the far end of the house, away from the garage. We do have a heat pump that's much closer to the garage that probably already has a 220 line on it. Could I tap off that, or is it going to be too much current drawing, or I ran both? Yeah,
no, you have to run a dedicated line for each of those. So yeah, unfortunately, you have to run it. Although you have to make sure you got capacity in your service, and then run it all the way to the service box.
Any other questions?
Can I ask any feedback on my slide around the oil?
The one slide that you asked us about in the beginning, Noel, it was a little hard to read the piece in the lower right. That's all.
Okay. Thanks for that. How about the messaging on it though? Was the messaging?
I like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I think it was great.
The whole presentation was really wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you all. And I hope everyone, when you go out to buy your next car, I really do hope you, you know, figure out what it takes to be able to make it happen. I appreciate your interest in it, and yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll see you all in April. We'll let you know what the topic's going to be. And thank you for being here.
Well,
Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
Nancy, and thank you, Joel. I mean, sorry, Noel. There's also a Joel in here. Isn't there?
Yes, thank you very much. It was excellent.
Yeah,
Did he leave? He may have left.
yeah.